What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Coach Magali here. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. On this channel I talk all about building muscle, losing weight, sticking to your habits, and without all the fluff and the BS that you don't need. So if that's content you're interested in, please do consider subscribing down below. Like this video if you enjoy content like this. And let's just get into why you're not growing the glutes that you want. This is a loaded question. Building muscle and training can be such an incredibly simple yet complicated topic because of the fact that we're all different and we all respond differently to different things. I have to start off this video with the disclaimer that you can follow all of the advice that I say in this video or watch other people's content and follow their advice to the T, and you will look different. Your glutes will be bigger or smaller or look different. That comes from a lot of factors, some of which are in your control and some of which are not. But it's important to start off this video with the reality check. Your genetics, your unique situation, along with other factors, it's going to make your results different. And it's important to know that so that you're not frustrated 2 years down the line on why you don't look like X person, even though you've been doing what they've been saying for you to do, including my own videos. Understand that everybody's going to look different. You're going to respond to different things. Again, some of it you can control, some of it you can't. And that's just the way it goes. I'm also not going to be able to cover every possible scenario and every possible situation because this video can only be so long. For example, nutrition is a big part of building muscle, and it's very, very important in eating enough protein, eating carbs, and sleep and recovery, stress, like all these things matter. But this video is specifically focusing on how to train your glutes to grow them. Now, if you want me to make a video on nutrition or things like that, let me know in the comments below. But again, for time's sake, I'm going to strictly focus on what it takes to build glutes in the gym through your training and what are the possible mistakes you're making right now that are holding you back from achieving that. And there's also the situation where people are taking performance enhancing drugs that allow them to grow more muscle in certain areas, or they look better than you even though you're doing the same things. Angles and lighting and editing are another big thing. So just know that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and you can't possibly copy somebody exactly because you don't know what they're doing, especially if they don't disclose it. You just need to expect yourself to look better, but don't put this insane pressure on yourself to look a certain way, because that's not realistic and it's never going to happen, and you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. I want to first start off with the mentality that we approach glute training. As a result of marketing and societal pressures, glute training became all the craze within the last few years. It's become this priority for women, or we put pressure to have bigger glutes and we want to look better, we want to match everybody else. So of course, companies and supplement companies and all these different things have taken advantage of that, and they never really have our best interest in mind. They just want to make money. So how they portrayed glute training was all these fancy pieces of equipment that are specifically designed for women, and you have to use this certain weight because you're a woman, and you have to train with these bands because you're a woman. You have to train them differently. So we approach glutes as if they act different than our other muscles, like our legs, like our arms, like our chest, our back. Pretty much every other muscle, we understand that we have to train it hard and for a long period of time to grow it, but for some reason, because of the marketing, because of everything that's gone in to put this pressure on us to have bigger glutes, we feel like we just have to do lots of reps, low weight, use fancy pretty dumbbells and barbells, plastic weights and lighter weights, and be gentle and don't slam it and don't be loud. A lot of people believe that glute training is all about doing lighter weight for more reps, doing it multiple times a week for hours and hours and hours. And the more that you do, the more that you exhaust the muscle, the more that it's burning, the more effective your training is. And actually, that couldn't be further from the truth, because the glutes, like every other muscle, respond to one thing to grow, and that is mechanical tension. Mechanical tension is the tension that it experiences under load when you put weight on something, when you do a weighted squat, when you do a leg press, when you do a split squat. Under load is when the muscle is grown. Think about it. Muscle doesn't like to build. It's not a tissue that gets there quick. It takes time. So we need a reason to build it. We need a stimulus in the body to give it reason to grow. Now, the nutrition and genetics are going to support that growth, but it needs a signal first. It needs a reason to do something. If you don't do anything to the glutes, they're going to stay the same. So what we do is we add tension, we add weight, and that signals the body, hey, we need to get stronger to handle this or we're going to die, essentially. So if you're not loading the muscle, if you're not training with purpose and intensity, and you're just doing a bunch of reps and burning it out and doing a bunch of booty bands and not really focusing on strengthening the muscle, you're missing out on a big opportunity. So instead of doing your entire session with a couple squats and then jump squats and then banded kickbacks and then cable kickbacks and then donkey kicks and then hip thrusts and then single leg hip thrusts and just always doing more and more and more, but doing it at a lower weight, you're missing out on truly pushing that muscle to its limit to grow. And that's going to be heavy reps. 6 to 8, where by the 8th rep you're dying. If you think about it, most of booty band and kickbacks and things like that are within the 15 to 20 range. And there's a use for that, they're important, but the majority and the bulk of your training should be on focusing on mastering the basics of what the glutes do and making them strong. When we train the glutes without proper intensity and we're just trying to burn them out and we're just trying to get the pump, you're using the muscle and therefore it's getting tired, but it's not getting the signal to actually grow. If I stand there and squeeze my butt cheeks for 10 hours without a break, am I going to be sore and tired, and is it going to be burning at the end of it? Yeah, heck yeah. But does that mean that that's a glute growing exercise? No, because those are two different things. Burning and fatiguing a muscle is different than putting it under the proper intensity to actually grow. And I can promise you this is a big fault of most people, because women are scared of touching weights. They're scared of squatting and deadlifting and doing things in the gym because they're scared of looking dumb, they're scared of getting hurt, they're scared of looking stupid, they're scared of getting filmed, sadly, by people who are stupid as fuck and film people for fun. But the reality is, like, that's what it takes. That's what you need to do to give the muscle a reason to grow. The solution to that is focusing less on the high rep, lower weight stuff and shift focus to lifting more weight with the right exercises. And what the right exercises are, which brings me to my next point, is focus on what the glutes are actually intended to do. If you just take a second to Google it, what are the main functions of the glute muscles? It's simply to extend the knee. So think squats, split squats, basically pushing your knee from bent to straight. And then we have hip extension, which is for bringing your butt back forward. That's your Romanians, your hip thrust. And then we have abduction, so when the leg moves away from your body. This is your kickbacks, your sideline raises, abduction machines. Choosing a couple exercises per function per leg day. So if you're working out legs twice a week, I don't recommend to do anything less than that and no more than 3, because you want to have at least a rest day in between each session, which in a week that gives you a maximum of 3 training sessions. You want to have one or two exercises for each of those functions, and that creates a full rounded leg day routine which targets the glutes. So for example, a session could look like you do heavy sets of squats, and then you do a Romanian deadlift, and then you do a leg press, kickback, and then maybe you can include some hamstrings if you want also, which are not glute related but to build your legs overall. Using these guidelines for choosing exercises is going to be the way that you go about it, because you're using the glutes as they are intended and designed by your body to be used. And so therefore you can focus on the actual exercises that do those things. Choose the amount of days you want to train your glutes, and then create a routine. I'm going to do these exercises on Monday, these on Wednesday, these on Friday, and you write everything down. How many sets, how many reps, how much weight did you use, what machine, how did it feel, do you think you can go heavier next time? Give yourself some notes. And then the following week when you go in, you have a reference point on what you did last time. Because what happens is, if we don't write this down, if we don't keep track of it, we're going to be lazy. Our minds are going to want to stick to the weight that feels comfortable. We're not going to push ourselves. But if you have in front of you your record, last week I did 50, I have to try 55 today. I have to try 60. And then you do that, it feels okay, great, now we go to 70 next week. And this is another mistake that people do, is they switch their routines around all the time. You don't want to be switching around what you're doing in a week sooner than 4 to 6 weeks. On Monday you do X routine, on Wednesday you do Y, and then Friday you do Z. X, Y, and Z have to be the same week after week. And all you're doing is adding intensity every week by either adding weight or adding more reps. Good way to know when you're ready to go up in weight is if you get to 12 to 15 reps and it's relatively easy and it's not really challenging, your body's ready for more weight. You don't want to keep adding reps and keep going higher. You just stay between 6 to 12 reps, maybe 15 occasionally. The term for adding weight or reps to your exercises and therefore increasing the mechanical tension, therefore increasing how it grows, is called progressive overload. And that is essentially how any muscle grows, is that over time, progressively, it is overloaded. It is overloaded by adding more weight or adding more reps. And if you focus on perfecting your form in the meantime and getting stronger and lifting more weight, your muscle is going to have a reason to grow. And that's really the secret to building muscle, is you want to get your sets close to failure, maybe towards the end, some of them to failure. And a burning sensation or getting tired or mentally giving up is not failure. You want to be within 2 to 3 reps of failure, meaning that if you did 2 to 3 reps more, like, you physically wouldn't be able to lift that weight. So those last few reps should be really difficult. You should be able to keep the form up and you should be able to complete it. Otherwise, you have to lower the weight. But if you finish your rep 8 and you're like, yeah, that burns, but I'm good, like, that's not hard enough. You got to push harder. You got to put more weight. You got to add something a little bit harder. And each set should feel like work. You know, there's not, aside from your warm-up sets that are getting you prepared for the lifts, you don't want to be relaxing after your last rep. Like, you can have a proper conversation and you can, like, laugh and chill the second you get off the machine. That's a good indicator that you're not going hard enough. You're not putting as much weight as you could be doing, or you're not doing enough reps. The goal is to increase that so that when you get off the machine and you finish that last rep, you're basically dying. That's kind of what you want to be aiming for every set. Now, overly going to failure is going to be detrimental to progress because you could get hurt and it's overkill. But your sets should be intense enough to that you get close to that point. It's going to take some trial and error in figuring out exactly what that looks like for you, because everybody's threshold is different. Everybody has a different tolerance. As you progress and as you write notes down and as you get better, you're going to understand what true muscular failure is and when you are close to it and when you're bullshitting. If you study any bodybuilders or look at anybody that has a ton of muscle, they know this, they understand this, and they push their muscles to the extreme. Not something that you have to do, but to highlight it, they progressively overload all of the time. They're doing a bunch of reps, they're increasing the weight, they're trying new exercises. And by doing the exercises that target the 3 different functions of the glutes, you're going to be working on building all 3 of them and therefore having a well-rounded built butt. Another thing that I mentioned previously was the fact that you needed to write everything down to make sure you're staying on track. So this is a big mistake. People don't track their workouts. They don't keep track of what weight they did or what machines or how many sets and reps. And this seems so silly, like, yeah, I'll remember. But in reality, you don't. And if your goal is to grow, you need to know what you're doing so that you can therefore push it past that. You need to be able to push past the limit. You need to know, 3 weeks ago I was doing 60 pounds. I should be doing 80. I should be doing 90. You need to track everything. Track how you feel during the set. Track any issues that come up. Changes in weight. Any sets and reps that you did differently. And that way you have as much information as you possibly can about yourself so that next week you know exactly what to work on and you're not wasting time wondering what the hell I did last week. Let's see what I do this week. You should already know what you're doing when you walk in. And the only way you're going to know that is if you have notes and a written plan ready to go. Another issue is over warming up and not really preparing for the workouts the right way. Do so many exercises, so many different things, so many kickbacks, so many jump squats, so many lunges to warm up before they actually even get to the first exercise. You're already exhausting your muscles beforehand, and therefore you can no longer produce as much intensity for the actual exercises that matter because you're tired from your warm-up. And you may not feel it, you may not be burning, you may not be tired, but the muscles have been used and energy has been wasted. 30-minute warm-up and doing a bunch of different things is useless. It's just placing your energy where it doesn't matter. Do a 5 to 10 minute routine, start walking on the treadmill for a couple minutes and do a couple squats, and then immediately get into your first exercise and do warm-up sets. So if you're doing squats that day, you do 5 minutes of whatever you want and then stretch out, 5 to 10 minutes in, you should be picking that bar up and doing bar squats. For example, your goal is to get to 100 pounds that day, which is 27 and a half each side. So first you start off with a bar, then you put 10 each side, and then you do a couple reps, and you do 20 each side, and then you do a couple reps, and then you finally put on your working set. And from that point is when you do 4 sets of 6 at that weight. The warm-up sets don't count. The warm-up sets are preparation game. They're not part of the workout. Do your warm-up sets intentionally and make sure that you're starting with the exercise that you're first doing, and keep your warm-ups short, concise, and to the point. Another mistake, a very common mistake that I see, is not resting enough during your sets, and that's typically because females usually go for less weight, more reps, so they can recover a little bit faster, and so they go fast, they rest 30 seconds to a minute. But if you're pushing the muscle to true intensity and lifting true amount of weight and actually pushing yourself, you're going to need 2 to 3 minutes. 1.5 at the least, 3 minutes at the most. And this rest time is so important and is so necessary because it takes time for your body to recover. And you want to give it time to recover so that that next set you go all out and you push. But if you're doing 30 seconds or a minute and you're still trying to push intensity and push weight, your body, one, is going to have shit warm. You're not going to be able to physically do it, or you're going to have to lower the weight and then lose out on intensity simply because you didn't rest long enough. Make sure the intensity is strong enough and then rest 1.5 to 3 minutes every single set. Nothing less than a minute if you absolutely are time crunched and need to go faster, and obviously don't take longer than 3 minutes. Usually that's a little overkill, but 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 20 seconds, that's not stuff that's useful for building muscle. If you need time to recover, you need to take a chill pill and take your time. And when you get to work, you push the intensity and you add weight. Building the glutes is relatively simple. You just need 4 to 5 exercises 2 to 3 times a week, targeting the 3 different functions that glutes have, writing down everything that you do, progressively overloading week after week, keeping the exercises constant to give you time to practice, to give you time to master them. You want to keep the same bones behind the program. You have a squat, you have a leg press, you have a hip thrust, you have a Romanian, just the type of exercise, whether you're using a bar or dumbbells, that can change, but keep the backbone of your routine the same. Glute training has a lot of different factors, just like building any muscle, but it really is just a lack of preparation and really understanding how to push yourself intensely. But it really is as simple as just choosing a routine and doing it consistently over time. Even though you may not look a certain way or have the glutes of your dreams or have the glutes that she has, I can promise you that if you follow the advice and correct the mistakes that I discussed in this video, you're going to have better glutes than you have now. And it is going to take time. It is going to take a couple months to a couple years, but you also have to consider proper nutrition, making sure you sleep enough, making sure you're recovering, making sure you're eating the right nutrients, you're eating the right amount of calories. The reality is, if you start with pushing your training to where it should be and tightening that up and fixing that up and focusing on that alone is one of the biggest things when it comes to building muscle. So you're going to see a dramatic improvement within a few months if you take the advice in this video and apply it to your training. It really is that simple, you guys. Glute training is just like any other muscle. You need to push them hard and you need to be patient. And if you have any further questions or want me to make a specific video on anything I discussed today, please let me know in the comments. I'd be more than happy to read those and take that as suggestions. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you the information that you were looking for. And if it did and you did enjoy it, please do like the video. It does help my channel out. Subscribe down below for more content coming soon like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.